like, we're watching a movie, we came to do property, what on earth are we doing here? So the question is, why are you here? Well, maybe you're here because you've started out on your property journey. Maybe you've started to think and be open to the idea that assets are a really good thing as opposed to not doing anything. Perhaps you're already on your property journey. Maybe you've got 1 or 2 properties and you've been trying it and you're kind of like, well, I know this works, but how the hell do I scale it? Maybe you're here because you're already in property, you've got some more capital, you want to do something else with it. Potentially you've got a job. And you're sitting at work thinking, well, this is great, because actually I'm making everybody else really rich, but I'm spending all the hours here. How the hell does that work? Perhaps you're one of these people who seems to be really busy all the time, and you're realising that there's only 24 hours in a day and only one of you. So how on earth could you do something different? Perhaps you're retired, and perhaps you've already got enough money to keep you going, but maybe you're here today to find out about how property can help you for maybe your generation after you, your grandkids, or something like that. So if this is where you are, perhaps feeling slightly frustrated, where would you like to be? So the question is, imagine if you could be over here. You see, over here, not only are you able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with the people that you want to do it, because over here you're able to do live, loving and laughing every day. You see all those slogans and signs everywhere, don't you? And over here it's because you made the decision that you were going to take back control of your life. Here you've got the money to do whatever you want to do. Here you can invest, here you can play. It's totally up to you, because here you are in control. Here, you're not living somebody else's life. You know, the one where people say what you should be doing, really. You see, here, you are in control of what you do. And here, people come up to you and go, oh my gosh, the last time I saw you, well, it's like there's like a change. I mean, you're smiling a lot. And I've heard that you got a new car. And I heard that you go on holiday quite a lot. I mean, what changed? Can you show me what you do now? Because I've got to be honest with you, you seem to be in a really decent place. So if this is where you are feeling slightly frustrated, and this is where you'd like to be being in control, would you agree with me that you might need to do something different? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes. Good. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? So the difference, if you like, the vehicle to get you from A to B that we're going to talk about today is the vehicle of property. How to make property an asset for you so you can have this life that you really want to do. So you might be thinking, why property? I mean, I've heard, Robert Kiyosaki just saying then it's about playing Monopoly. That sounds like a great idea, doesn't it? 4 greenhouses, 1 red house. Used to do that one as a kid. But of course that money wasn't real, was it? But actually the principles behind it still exist today. And it's not as if this is a new concept. Because back in the days of old, when knights were bold, and cavemen, and I know some of you are looking at me, but I'm not that old, I wasn't actually there. But back in the day we always had a cave. Because having somewhere to live is fundamentally one of the basic requirements of life. I just wonder if this makes sense. So because of that, there's always been a need. I mean, there's all these lovely slogans, an Englishman's home is his castle. You always need somewhere to live. And in this country, we have a huge opportunity, because guess what? We're in Ireland, aren't we? We can't extend it, we've only got so much land, and at this moment in time, there's approximately 1 million houses short to actually home the people that live here. And that's not going away anytime soon, because on average, there's about the size of Southampton population coming into this country every year. We're not going to get into politics, but that's the way it is, right? So would you agree that there seems to be an opportunity, because where there's a demand, there's an opportunity? Yes or no, guys? Yeah, absolutely. So that's why I want to speak to you today about property. Particularly, I want to share with you a company called Insight. That's who I'm working with at the moment. But you might be thinking, well, this is great, but you don't look like that bald bloke that was on the front of that book. So who are you and why are you here, right? Well, I want to take you back to 2013. And I would have been in a room similar to this, actually, probably a little bit bigger, and some outside space that you just walked through. And I'm there at a public speakers university event, because I'm one of the coaches. And coming towards me is this guy who looks a little bit like, you know Captain James T. Kirk? Patrick Stewart, yeah? Bald head. But this guy's smiling, because Patrick Stewart's always a little bit intense, isn't he, when he's in Star Trek? This guy's walking towards me, he's like, oh, hiya, Cheryl. My name's Aaron, I just wanted to speak to you. I just heard you speaking on stage, and I just wanted to say I love what you do. Oh, you mean like find your why, find your purpose, find your passion? Yeah, I love all that. I think that, you know, you do need a purpose in your life, definitely. And also, I like the bit about when you were talking about why people are where they are right now. Because I work with people and they do get stuck. They've got beliefs that aren't their own, they've been passed on from generations, and they are stuck without wanting to move forward because they've got fear in their life. So I was wondering, I know that you do that, but I also know that you help businesses to take like their knowledge out of their head and put it into systems. Could you be my coach? Yeah, sure, sounds like a good idea. I mean, you're from the north, so that's a bonus, isn't it? Because usually it is southern people. Sorry if there's any southerners in there. But tell me what you do, and more importantly, tell me why you do it. Well, Cheryl, let's go back to 2000, and in 2000, you'd have found me in a pub, which is a bit unusual, because actually I don't drink very much. But I'm in a pub and I'm waiting for my boss, Warren. Now Warren, oh my gosh, like he's just like super, you know, one of these guys always in suits, always got an answer for everything. And I've started working with him, and for the last 6 months, I've not been doing very well, to be honest. So he comes in and he's like, have you been telling everybody about asset growth and good debt and bad debt? And I'm like, well, I know about bad debt. And then he starts saying to me things like, you want to get a PA? And Cheryl, to be honest with you, I'm thinking, I've only got £2,000 this month. How the hell can I afford a PA, right? So I remember I said something to him. I said to him, I'm a bit concerned because I don't actually have any money, so how can I do all these things that you're saying, and how can I ask somebody else to do it if I'm not doing it myself? Oh, Aaron, he says, what you are doing now is you are looking at lack of resources. That's not what you should look at. You should look at becoming resourceful yourself. It's lack of resourcefulness that stops people moving forward. Do you know what, Cheryl? On that day I thought, what a load of crap. I had no idea what he was talking about. But now when I look back, as Steve Jobs says, you can only connect the dots looking backwards on your life. I realised that was quite a turning point for me. Because I did start to look out of the box. I started to look at different places where people could help me, where things could help me. And so you'd find me approximately 6 years later. And there I am. I'm stood at the back of a room at a property event. I don't know if you guys might know what that feels like. He said, and I've got to be honest with you, this guy come on stage and I could only describe him as Mr. Scruffy. At that moment, Cheryl, I've got to be honest, I was about to leave. He started to talk and he was saying, so I bought a lot of properties in the past, and I've got to be honest with you, I've had some problems. I've had tenants that have set fire to my home. I've had tenants that have trashed the home. I've had tenants that didn't leave when they should do. And I've also had times when people, for example, property sources have given me properties that haven't been very good. And do you know what, Cheryl? I was sat at the back of the room and I thought, oh my God, this guy's talking to me. Because I'd started to property invest on the basis of what Warren had taught me, and I'd had some problems as well. And to be honest with you, my mother, who was really safe, you know, especially if you've got a parent that's like really safe, yeah, exactly. She was saying to me, oh my God, what on earth have you done? What have you done with your life? You've wasted your money. Well, the truth was I've made a bit of money, but yeah, I did have some mistakes along the way. And Mr. Scruffy started to talk about how people look towards their dreams, and their dreams are like on the other side of a jungle, if you like. But the problem is, instead of getting in there and being resourcefulness, what happens is they go to the kitchen, they get a butter knife, and they start hacking their way through the jungle. And after a few years, it gets a bit tiring. And then there comes this great big oak tree, and they've got a butter knife, and they're trying to get their way through, and just on the other side of that oak tree is their dream. But of course, with this tool, they've got no chance. The situation is, on the other side of the jungle is a pathway that somebody else has already walked down. In fact, there may even be a motorway that people have driven down. It was in that moment, Cheryl, that I thought, do you know what? I'm trying to do this all on my own. And that's not how it should work. So I went away. Now, I'd love to tell you, Cheryl, that my property portfolio took off and that was it overnight. But life isn't like that, is it? So what happened was I was trying to find the right people. I found some good people, I found some bad people, but eventually I got myself a team. And what happened was we were able to then go on and help other people. So that's where I think me and you, Cheryl, are the same, because you like helping people, don't you? So I started to learn from these mistakes, put in new ideas, new systems, new strategies, and that meant that I could then do that for other people. Well, Aaron, that sounds great, but what on earth are you doing here then? Because it sounds like your business is doing really well. You're helping other people to get into property. They're winning, you're winning. Why are you here then? Well, the other day I was in the pub. Again, I know it sounds like I'm an alcoholic, doesn't it? But I was in the pub again for probably the second time in 10 years with a guy called John. Now, John's one of the guys that we do a done-for-you service with, right? And he said to me, Aaron, I love this. He said, but I've been speaking to some of my friends and my colleagues and my connections, and some of them just can't quite afford to get into the done-for-you service. What about if you created something that would help people that had a little bit of money, a little bit of income, but they could learn how to do it themselves? You know, like an educational programme. Do you know what, Cheryl? I remember saying to him, oh, I don't think I can do that. I'm not very good at education. And have you ever seen anybody like laugh the socks off at you? He says to me, Aaron, you're doing about 4 videos a week online. You're running a webinar. That is what they call education these days, you know. And in that moment, if you like, that's when I realised I needed to get a system where I could take everything out of my head and put it into a system and a strategy for other people to follow, rather than just doing it for them. So that's why I'm here. So can you help me to create this system? So over the next 4 months, that's exactly what we did. There were no scalpels involved, but pretty much I helped to take everything out of Aaron's mind and put it into what we now call the Safe, Secure Plan, which helps other people to invest in property, even if they're just at the beginning of their journey. Of course, there's still the done-for-you service as well, but this is what we create on. So today, I'm going to share with you quite a lot from that system. The reality is I haven't got time to share all of it with you. It'll take about 22 days, just so you know. But hopefully it'll give you enough so that you can go away, implement something straight away, or at least look at what you're doing and go, that's good, I'm already doing that, I need to do this. So raise your hand if you're slightly excited about finding out a bit more. Cool, that's good. So, there's a couple of rules and regulations. First of all, let me just, if you don't know who I am, raise your hand if you haven't met Aaron before, by the way. No, just online, yeah, okay then. So here is Aaron. So as I say, it looks a little bit like Patrick Stewart. On a good day or a bad day, I'm not quite sure which one you think there. But yes, he is the founder of the Inside Group Agency, 2 decades of property investing. Invested with over 200 properties himself, and obviously he's helped others to buy over 1,000 properties. We've educated over 20,000 in the last few years, and clients are getting returns of 50, 80, 130, 200 within 5 years consistently. So I'm sure you'd agree, kind of know what we're talking about. Now what's interesting is, I believe that sometimes in life, people come in so you can help them. Would you agree? Yes or no? Yes or no, guys?
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest with you, the reason why I do this yes or no is a couple of reasons. I know it feels a bit weird, because you're like, oh, for God's sake, do I have to do that? But 2 reasons. One, I have got a slightly different accent, although just so you know, I am originally from Liverpool, so I am a Red Rose. I just speak with a Yorkshire accent to let the natives be fooled on the other side of the Pennines, right? So I want to make sure that you do understand what I'm saying, like as in understand the language. But the main thing is that when you're learning, you do need to be involved. When's the best time for people to learn, do you think? When you're old or when you're young? Young. That's when your reticular activator is open in your mind and you're learning. I've got a nephew, my nephew Leon, he lives with me at this moment in time. He's about 6'2" and he's only 12, by the way, so I still think there's something in the water. But I remember when he was little, every morning he would get up and he'd be like, Auntie Shez, Auntie Shez, Auntie Shez, like full of life. And what questions do they ask all the time? Why? Why can we do this? Why can't I do that? Can I do this? Why not? Why not? Questions, questions, questions. And he's always moving around and jiggling around and moving, right? And then you go and watch some kids in a school, and what are they like? They know the answer to all the questions, the arms are up, they're moving around, and that is because that helps you to learn. Now they don't know that, they're just doing it naturally. But then what happens to us? You then go to school, don't you? When you get into bigger school, or big school as I call it, you get into bigger school, and what do they teach you? Shut up, don't say anything, sit there, don't move, stop being fucking creative. God forbid that you actually be you. Raise your hand if this makes sense. Absolutely. Now, Robert Kiyosaki, you just saw him in the little movie clip there, and you probably think, what the bloody hell has this got to do with bloody property? But the reason why I put it on is because, oh my God, right, I'm 55 this year, and it was 5-6 years ago that I said I woke up. Because for nearly 50 years I was in the trance called life. I went to work, on the way to work I would blame everybody, hate my job. In fact, I'd phone my friend and we'd bitch and moan about work. She'd go up to Leeds, I'd go across to where I was going. And then we'd bitch and moan all the way home, and then we wondered why we hated our jobs and hated going to work. And then I woke up to the fact that actually you are in control of you. And the education system that we have in this country, and it's not teachers' fault, I'll tell you that for the start of, it's just the government. They want you to stay trapped. Because if you stop asking questions, and if you stop being individual, guess what? They've got you. Because they've got you because they want us all to be the same. Raise your hand if this makes sense. They want you to say, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, because they're still educating us to stand on the end of a conveyor belt. Industrial revolution. You don't want people asking questions if they're packing chocolates, like they used to do in Europe, right? Or they don't want you asking questions if you've got to, go out on the sea and be a fisherman. Just get on with it. But we are educated the really, really wrong way. I'll give you a really good example of how education can stop you. And that is, if you go to a private, state school, this is how you're told to count. Something like this. You have 5 apples, you give away 2 apples, how many apples do you have left? Thank you. Fucking hell, I thought for a minute the education system. Totally! Right, okay, cool. Exactly, right? Now, not a trick question. If you go to a private school, a paid school, then the difference is as follows. You have 5 companies, you sell 2 companies, how many companies do you have left? You seem to be the only one who can count, so 3 companies, but what's the difference? Give them away, make a profit. Listen, it's not your fault. Does that make sense? It's not your fault that you sit there and go, oh my God, she wants me to say something and I don't want to, because you've had probably 10, 15, I'm looking at the youngsters over here, but you've probably had like 10, you've probably had a few more years, some of you, like me, 40 years of indoctrination of don't say anything, don't stand up, don't speak out, just sit there and be talked at. Today is different. I'd like you to join me. Is that okay, yes or no? Yes. Because you're unique. There's something about you that brought you here today. And I just want you to join in, ask some questions along the way. Now, in terms of the questions being asked, don't get me wrong, we've got a limited amount of time and there's a lot of stuff that I want to share with you today. So if you've got a question about property and stuff like that, just write it down. Just interact with me, because, what's your name? Michael. Michael, if we went for a coffee and I talked at you all the time, you'd think I was your wife, wouldn't you? You know what I mean, right? We'd have a conversation, so I need to just have a little bit of interaction with you, just so that I know that, 1, you're getting what I'm sharing with you, and also 2, that you don't start falling asleep, quite frankly, because if you don't do it a bit of move around. So is that all right? Yes or no? Yes. Brilliant. Thanks ever so much. So, that's lovely hour. So here's the format of today. Now, we're going to be in session till about 11:15, about an hour's time. We'll go for a break, then back in session, then we'll go for lunch about 1:15, and then back in session in the afternoon. Now, I know it says we'll finish about 4. It could be more like 5. But are you okay if we don't stick to this like a routine? Because I want to make sure that I'm going to give you the information, rather than going, oh, well, I was just about to give you something really great, but it's 4 o'clock, so see you. Is that okay if it might go over a little bit, yeah? Good. So lunch will be at 3. I'm joking. You definitely get to lunch there. Okay. Take lots of notes. If you haven't got any pens and paper, there's some at the back of the room. There should be some on your chair here. Because again, writing things actually puts it into the mind more. You might never look at the notes again, but your brain will have taken in all this information and all this knowledge as you're writing it down. So make some notes as we go along. So, a couple of rules of the game. We've already done a little bit of this first one, which is, at some stage today, I'm going to say something that you might not agree with, because we're all individuals, right? But what I want to share with you is the knowledge of the Insight Group, all of the years of experience that they've had in property, sourcing and helping people build their portfolios. I want you to try our jacket on, if you like. Just try our jacket on whilst you're in this room. And at the end of it, you might say, well, I don't like that bit, that they said, and I don't like that bit that they said, but I've got a nice body warmer. And you might leave. Or you might say, wow, I love this jacket's brilliant, I love all of it, and you'll leave. Or you might say, do you know what, I thought all of that was a proper shit, I'm going to leave the coat and I'm leaving. But in the room, I just want you to say there'll be different opinions, but I want to just share the opinion that we have at this moment in time. And again, when you leave the room, you can take it or you can leave it. Is that okay with you guys? Yes or no? Yeah, good stuff. I want you to network. So I know you probably came with certain people. I'm only looking because you've got the same t-shirts on that you might come together, you know what I mean? But I don't want you to mingle with each other when we go out for breaks and lunch. You can do that every day of the week if you came with somebody. Does that make sense? But meet some new people. And as we go through, there'll be some opportunities for you to see which people you might want to target and meet up with. And then lastly, I am going to challenge you, if that's okay. Because, you know, again, not your fault. There'll be things in your mind that, you know, you might have had in there from being, you know, taught by your parents. Again, not your parents' fault. Because if you think about it, they were taught by their parents and their parents and their parents. I mean, where on earth do you get... It's a bit like in our family. I don't know, I might lose some people there. I've got to be mindful. I am a Liverpool fan. Is that a bad or good thing? Depends. I might have just lost half the group. That's the thing. But guess why I'm a Liverpool fan? No, well, yes, I am, of course, but thank you. But because my dad was, or is, should I say. Now, what is interesting is, something happened because my grandma used to be a Man U fan, so I'm not quite sure where that went from. But usually you'll find if there's a football supporter in the family, it goes back a few generations. Raise your hand if this makes sense, yeah? And also things like, you know, why do you have mint sauce on lamb? Who decided? Who decided mint sauce on lamb? I mean, these are like life questions, aren't they, today? But let's get back to practice. So I'm going to challenge you sometimes. But first of all, I want to share with you the programme that I helped Aaron to develop. Okay? This is a system and a strategy that means it's a bit like a recipe, if you like. You know, a recipe of what to do in property. Or a bit like a roadmap, how to get from A to B, if you like. There are 5 Ps, and what Aaron did was, when he decided that he wanted to get into helping other people, there was something that he is such a detailed person, honestly. Like, I'm not so detailed, but he's really, really detailed. And then some people are not so detailed. But when you're teaching somebody, you have to teach them quite a lot, particularly in property. You know, there's laws and things like that. So what he wanted to do was, he didn't want to do it half-heartedly. He never had done things like that. He wanted to master it. So the way that he mastered it was, he looked at his own journey with his wife, because they'd become financially free in 2008. So he looked back and said, well, what did we do there? What mistakes did we make? I want to make sure people don't make those same mistakes as we did, but that worked really well. And then what he did was he looked at the insight clients that we had, and these were the people where they'd had a done-for-you service. And he interviewed 50 people who had had success. And he looked at them and he said, what did you do? Sometimes it's called modelling, you know, like copying, which is another thing at school. You get told off for copying, don't you? What a load of rubbish. If somebody's brilliant at something, do you think it would be good to copy them? Yes or no? Yeah. Absolutely. Again, anyway, we'll go back to the education system later on. So he interviewed these 50 people, and then he also interviewed another 50 people who could have taken the opportunity, but they didn't. And he wanted to find out why they didn't and where they were right now. So he really mastered this concept. And all of that information then went into this particular programme that I'm going to be sharing with you today. So, mastery is key. There are 5 Ps, 5 things that you need in order to build a brilliant property portfolio. The first one is you've got to have a purpose. So, what do I mean by that? Well, if you don't have a purpose in life, would you agree that you'll just let life happen to you? Which kind of just makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. And then you get to your deathbed, and there was a lady called Denise who interviewed people who were on their deathbed, and she said, what is the thing that you regret the most? I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't know if you're like me. When I first heard this story, I was like, are you joking me? These people are about to die. And she's like brought out a questionnaire, do you know what I mean? But she shared the last few days with them, right? And she said to them, what is the one thing that you really regret? And she actually created a list of the 10 regrets of life. And the number 1 regret on the deathbed for both men and for women was that they never led the life that they wanted to do. They'd lived somebody else's life. So if you have a purpose, you've got direction, you know where you're going. But having a purpose isn't the only thing, because you also need to have a plan. So what do I mean by that? Well, you know where you want to go. You want to be over here. You want to be financially free. But what are you going to do to get there? And more importantly, how are you going to do it? Because would you agree there are lots of different ways to attack the same kind of problem? Yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. Next, in property you need to know about payment. And here, what we find is if you don't know about how to pay for the property, then you may potentially be limiting yourself. For example, I know when I first started talking to Aaron about property, and it's interesting because when we met up again just last year, I said to Aaron, so how's things going? He said, yeah, brilliant, you know, we've got this product, everybody's benefiting from it, it's really great, we've got like an education side of the business, we've got this done for you side. How are you doing? I said, yeah, brilliant, Find Your Wise, like looking after itself now. I've got a membership site online, and, you know, I make money while I sleep. And guess what? I've actually started doing a couple of rental properties. And he went, oh, great. I said, I can't stand it. He was like, what do you mean? I said, God, it's bloody hard work. I mean, I'm having to, you know, dash in, sort this out and everything. I said, I've got a letting agency, you know, sorted. And he said, well, have you got some money to invest? I said, well, yeah, I've got a bit of money. He goes, well, why don't you have a done for you service? Ping! The old light bulb rang. So that's where I came into his life to help him, he came into my life to help me. So it's just a brilliant thing. So with payment, I kept hearing about bridging loans. And I remember from back like in the 80s, bridging loans were really expensive. And I'd sort of poo-pooed those, I wasn't going to ever go down that line. But actually, if you could get a property at a discount, and it was less than what the bridging loan cost, would you agree with me that that might be something positive to consider? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's just about looking at all the different types of payments that are possible. Then of course you've got buy a property. If you don't know how to buy a property, you might end up, you know, with some kind of legal stuff going on that you haven't covered if you're trying to do it yourself. So it is about making sure that you know how to purchase. And most importantly, just out of interest, who is actually investing in property right now? At this moment in time, let's just show of hands. Okay, great. So for those of you who aren't, and for those of you who are, but try to just go back to the first property that you bought. How different is it when you're buying a property that is your home? Because when you buy your home, which part of the body are you buying it with?
Emotions.
Your heart. It always amazes me when people buy property. I must be well, all of us by the way here. I remember we walked into our home, the new home that we've got, just moved into this fabulous space in January. I walked in and I was like, oh my God. It's a little bit like ladies when you look over a nightclub, when we used to go to nightclubs and you'd see the bloke and you'd go, oh my God, this is bad. And then in would walk the really attractive girlfriend and you'd go, all right, okay, never mind. But I walked into my home and honestly my heart was beating. I was like, oh, this place is freaking lovely. Like, I want this. No logic at all heart. But when you buy your first investment property, what are you buying it with? The brain. And that's really difficult. I know when Aaron was saying to me about how when he's looking for properties for his clients or for himself, he'll look at a property, but he doesn't look at the picture. He looks at the numbers. The picture is the last thing you'll look at. Because do the numbers stack up first? That's when you know you've got a huge chance. So you've got to understand how to purchase it, otherwise you'll be buying all these houses that you'd love to live in, and perhaps nobody else would. Just so you know. And then finally, you've got to make a profit. Would you agree, if you're buying houses, you're not doing this for a hobby, are you? You know, you want to make some money, especially if you're going to be getting to financial freedom. So, we created a system called the Safe Secure Portfolio Plan. And these are what you need. So you need these 5 areas, but what we did was we created solutions, if you like, for these. And for each of these areas, there are 2 solutions. I'm going to share as much as I can in the next few hours with you. So first of all, for purpose, we've got the Confident Investment Formula, just in case you can't really read that there, and the Clear Vision Creator. So I want to share with you the Clear Vision Creator. This is a 5-step process. One of them includes knowing where you want to go. So let's say, for example, this is when you realise why I'm a speaker and I don't draw, because my drawing's really bad. But let's say, for example, this is a map of the UK. Oh, I did say I'm really pants, right? There's the other one, I know that. So let's say we're in Newcastle, and it's in days of old. So what we're going to be looking for is we're going to be looking for a pot of gold, right? I've got no yellow pen, but we'll have a green one because it's money, right? A pot of gold, and this pot of gold is in Brighton, which I think is somewhere around here. Now, unbeknown to us, we don't know that it's in Brighton, but we're setting out from Newcastle, and some of you over here head this way. What's going to happen? Well, at best you're going to get wet, and at worst you're going to drown, right? These lot are looking a bit snug now. I'm not with that. This side of the room, or say this half of the front of the room, you go this way, and eventually you're just going to end up in the water over here. It just takes you a bit longer to get there. Now, let's see, what's your name in Daisy? Is it Daisy? So Daisy, let's say Daisy sets off in the right direction towards Brighton, unbeknown that that's where the gold is, right? But she's setting off and she's thinking, oh, well, this just feels right, I'm just going to go down here. But what happens is there's a little bit of a motorway blockade and she starts to go over here. And guess what? Eventually she just gets in the water as well. What would you need in order to get from Newcastle to the pot of gold? Signs, yeah. Sat-nav these days, isn't it? But what you need more importantly is you need to know where you're going. Because you can get in your sat-nav, but if you don't tell it where you're going, it can't help you either, right? So you need to have this idea of where you're going. What does financially free mean to you, for example? Because financially free are words that are touted about, aren't they? Does it mean a holiday home in Spain for you? Does it mean, Thailand visits? Does it mean a nice big house? Does it mean education for your kids? Basically, it means you don't have to work again, fundamentally. But what are you going to do with your time? So you've got to have this purpose of where you're going. Very sure if that makes sense. Great, cool. So with the clear vision process, Aaron on his 3 days spends quite a lot of time on this, helping you to really know exactly where you're going and why. Next, we've got the confident investment formula. We talked a little bit about this already. It's about having not the heart buying the property, but the head buying the property. So here, what's happening is, again we're talking about purpose, but we're talking also here about how you do this. So I want you to imagine that you play golf. What happens when you start playing golf? You get all the gear and no idea. That's pretty much how it goes, isn't it? You get out there, I know this because my husband's got about 3 sets of golf clubs somewhere, forgets he's got it and then wants to try it again. So what happens is, you start to play golf and you just start hitting it, and of course it goes a bit further and it goes a bit further and it goes a bit further. But then what happens is you reach a plateau. I don't know if you've ever done this in any kind of sport or hobby that you've done, yeah? So you start out, don't you? So this is what we call a dabbler. So a dabbler basically starts something, gets a little bit of a way, but then he plateaus, or she plateaus. So then what happens is, they go, well, I knew golf was a shit game, so I'm just going to forget about that. Oh, but tennis looks quite good. So then they start, and they go, oh, I'll do a bit of tennis, and guess what, they get a bit further, and then they plateau again. So they're dabbling in this and dabbling in that. And then they might dabble at the gym. There's a lot of gym dabblers, isn't there? I'll put my hand up for that as well. So start again, oh no, I can't, I've got all the gear, oh no, I can't do it, I'm going to get out of it. So raise your hand if at any time, either in the past or now, you have been a dabbler. I want you to be honest. So just take a look around, just so you know you're not on your own. There's a lot of us, right? Okay. The next type of person, they basically say, okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to start playing golf, and I'm going to hammer this ball, I'm going to get really stressed, I'm going to practice, and then it's going to go where it needs to go, on the edge of the green. And they're like that, yes! And that's why people sometimes play golf, isn't it, for like the one shot of the year, or whatever it is they're doing. But then what happens is, they get to just on the edge of the green, and they're like, oh, I can't chip it on the green. I know how to whack it, but I don't know how to chip it onto the green. So then what happens is, they practice, get really stressed, and it gets on the green. And then guess what? They overput it. So they send it too far past the hole, and now they're again they do exactly the same thing. So what this is called, this is what we call a stressor. Now these people are really great because they do get things done. Unlike the dabbler, where you give up at the first hurdle, the stressors will really do it. I mean, about 3 years ago, I'd got about 4 businesses on the go, including Anne Summers' rec on the night time, just to have a bit of fun in my life, do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, what's this all about? But what I'm saying is I fill my day with stuff to do. I sold knives and forks in the day and vibrators at night. I mean, there you go, what more could you do? As well as having these other, but this is where I lived. And this is what I mean about waking up and going, oh my God, this is just me trying to be really, really busy, trying to make money by being what I thought was being an entrepreneur. But just a stress head, really. So this is a stressor, gets things done, really great, as my husband's great at this. He's a real stress head, but he'll get stuff done. Raise your hand if at any stage, either now, someone's smiling because I know that they're like, yeah, that's me now or in the past, you have been a stressor. Take a look around. You're not on your own, yeah? So the next level, this is really the level where I guess it brings wanting to get things done and knowing what to do when you hit these plateaus, right? Is what we call mastery. So what happens, just raise your hand if any of you do play golf, by the way. Okay, cool. Michael, I'm going to choose Michael because I can read your bad shit. So let's say I start doing golf like I did originally, and then I hit this plateau, and then I go, Michael, you play great golf. Can you help me? You don't play great golf. Let's do another question. Raise your hand if you play really great golf. Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? Are you a stressor or a dabbler? So let's pretend then for the minute that you do. So now you're going to help me. Are you a helpful chappy, Michael?
Sometimes.
Sometimes, okay. Well, we use the sometimes there. So you're going to help me, and he's going to help me to get to the next level. Raise your hand if this makes sense. Yeah? Cool. So we get to the next level, and then we go along, and then Michael's actually, his brilliance is here, so he now needs to go and help somebody else, or somebody else needs to help him. But now I get here, and I saw somebody else put their hand up. What's your name? Please? Alex. So now Alex is going to help me, and he's going to help me get to the next level, and then Alex is going to be about here, so guess what? I need to find someone that's above Alex. Raise your hand if this makes sense. Or what you can do is, when you start here, no disrespect to Michael or Alex, but what you can do is go straight for this person who is the master at the moment. So they might be the master golfer in the UK, the world, I don't know. But would it make sense to hang around with this person to improve your golf, your tennis, whatever it was that you were doing? Yes or no? Yeah, absolutely. Tiger Woods, for example, I think it was, if I know the story a little bit, Tiger Woods' father found him a master, I think, in his case, and helped him, to teach him. Yeah, so mastery, so that's what we're talking about there. So here it's about how can you get to where you want to go and how can you do it quicker. Because when you've got a master, then that just helps you to be a champion quicker. Think about anything in your life at the minute where you've done really, really well, where you've achieved something. It won't be here, because you wouldn't have achieved it. It won't be here because you're probably on a heart attack zone, potentially here, but it will be where you've mastered something. So it's about getting a clear vision, laser-like vision. I know I'm going to talk a bit about sport, but this is because my dad wanted a boy. What can I say? I was brought up as a sport. For those of you who do know football, I actually did stole one of the footballers from Liverpool. He actually wrote to me and said, do you think you've got time to just envelope it next time, please, Cheryl, seeing as we're writing to each other. But I was really into football. But people like David Beckham, they didn't get it by dabbling down here. They got it by being really focused. He didn't play hockey on a Monday, ice skating on a Tuesday, tennis on a Wednesday. It's football, football, football. So whatever you do, make sure that whatever you're clear about is laser clear. Otherwise, it's bright, shiny new thing over here, bright, shiny new thing over here, and you're just a jack of all trades and not a master. So you want to be a master of something, right? Now, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, well, this is expensive. I mean, one, if I get to this person, it's going to cost me some money. But of course, would you agree with sometimes you have to put some investment in? Yes or no? Yeah. Sometimes people look at the cost of moving forward rather than the price of standing still. So you get some mastery. Raise your hand if you've paid about £2,000 or £3,000 on a family holiday recently for a couple of weeks, something like that. Yeah. So it's the price of a holiday, mastery usually, £2,000 to £3,000. So without spending that money on a 2-week family holiday and changing your life, you can see how that would be worthwhile. Cool, good stuff. So that's purpose, the clear vision creator. Here's Prague, and he works touch with us. He said, I've been searching for a company that I could 100% trust to help me execute property investment goals. I've studied property for the last 9 years and dabbled. He was a bit of a dabbler and an amateur investor. I knew my goals, but I needed to recruit the best team of experts to help me to achieve that. PI were the team, so that's us, and expertise. PI clearly had the property expertise and shared the knowledge that I needed to understand what he was doing. He answered all my questions. Long-term investment model aligns with the way I wanted to invest in property, and an attractive way of building lifelong passive income, but a totally realistic model. So he knew what he wanted to do, he found us and he worked with us. Now, you may think, but if I find somebody that's really good at something, they might be really busy, right? Like, why would they even help me? It is really interesting because when I first started out on this personal development, you know, and finding out about assets and rather than good debt and bad debt, which we're going to talk about later, it's amazing how many people will talk to you because they're quite proud of what they've done. I mean, if you're really good at something, if someone came up to you and said, do you mind if I buy you a coffee and you just share with me what you've done because I'm really inspired by it? Where's your hand if you think you might go for a coffee? Yeah, absolutely. Now, busy people are successful people sometimes, okay? And sometimes busy people are busy fools, right? But if you find somebody and you want to help them, or you want them to help you, if they say to you, I am a bit busy, what do you think you could ask them? Anyway.
When you're not busy.
Exactly, when you're not busy. Because they're not going to be busy for the rest of their life. And they might say February, and you go, great, I've got my diary, 1st of February, is that okay? And they might go, I can't do then. You go, great, can you do the week after or the week after that? And there will be a time and they will help you. I know, I was really surprised, because again, we're taught not to ask. You know, don't ask people, don't tell people that you need their help, you know, try to do it on your own. And again, that just keeps you trapped. Okay, so now let's have a look at the expert team creator. You may have noticed in the video at the beginning, Robert Kiyosaki said you don't have to do it on your own, and that's another example of getting around people who are really successful. So imagine that this morning you woke up and you got a phone call and someone said, you're going to be playing, and I'm sorry ladies, it's football again, although you might be into football like I am a little bit. But, you know, you're going to be playing at Wembley tomorrow, and not tomorrow, but next week, right? So I want you to go and get yourself a team to work with. Now, would you agree if you were playing a championship side, which is not obviously the top, but they're pretty cool, aren't they? They get paid. If you're playing a championship side, do you think the chances of you winning with your local Sunday league team, because that's all you know at this moment in time potentially, bearing in mind if you don't know what a Sunday league team look like, they look pretty much like that picture there. So these are the guys that have probably been on the booze the night before. They've turned up, they might have had a wash or they might not have had a wash, and as they're running onto the pitch, they're probably just having a quick fag before they go on. That's a Sunday league team. Those are the only people you know at the minute, and you're going to play at Wembley against a Championship League team, which are pretty good because they get paid. Do you think your chances of winning are high or low at that stage? Of course they are, yeah. Seems like a damn question. But let's say in your phone book you have a person called Alex Ferguson. Now, despite whether or not you're a fan or you're not, he is regarded as one of the best managers in the world, right? Certainly when he was playing. So let's say that you phone him up and you go, hi Alex, I wonder if you can help me. I've got this opportunity to play at Wembley next week. Do you think you could come along and could you bring some of your friends? He goes, yeah, actually I hate retirement. I want to get back into the game a little bit. This would be great. Don't want to do it professionally. So you turn up to Wembley. When you go into the changing rooms, there is Ronaldo. Give me some other names of some really great footballers. Mo Salah. I was just waiting for that. Mo Salah. So you've got these great footballers around, 10 of them and you. And you're going to be playing with this team, right? They take you out onto the Wembley pitch. These are world-class players. And they tie you up on the halfway line. Do you think that those world-class players will win the game or lose the game against the Championship League? Win the game, right? But isn't it interesting that you're not actually getting involved at all? So this is what you can do with your property team. Who is your property team? Who's a world-class team that you can have around you that even if you don't have to do anything, they'll still win for you? There's your hand if this makes sense. Cool. So this is about getting a world-class team. And we're going to look later on about the sort of people that you would have in this team. So, here's Pam. Since learning the system that we taught her, She's now obtained 10 properties. This was back in 2017. Around £1 million. She takes cash flow of 20,000 per annum and equity releases of 37 per annum tax-free based on 5% growth. I'm going to talk to you about the tax-free, etc. later on. Okay, now let's look at the pay-to-play principles. The pay-to-play principles, remember this is about payment. Remember I said about opening your mind to like different types of payments? So raise your hand if you've ever taken out a loan, a credit card, you know, something from one of the high street banks. Just raise your hand. Just raise them up again, just so I can just say. Yeah, cool. Okay, then, great. Now, here's the interesting thought. If the person who's sitting next to you isn't someone that you came with, so just have a look around and just see if there's someone that you don't recognise, you can come with them, right? If I said to you, would you lend some money from this lady here? What's your name? Georgie. Would you lend some money from Georgie? What's your gut instinct to say straight away?
No.
No. Why? Don't know them, right? So what I'd like you to do is just play this out for us, because again it's about learning and doing. So I just want you to look to the person to one side that you don't know, not the person you came with. Okay, so just choose somebody, it might be two people speaking to the same person. And I want you to say to them, I trust you less than the banking industry. But that's what we're saying, aren't we? That's what we're saying. Because again, it's how we've been brought up, not your fault. But it is your responsibility to now go, oh my God, let me have a think about this in a different way. Now, the reason why you wouldn't do this transaction here is just as you said, you don't know them, you don't trust them. I mean, I remember someone saying to me, oh, are you upset that you've got to change your bank? Oh, have you been with your bank manager for a long time? And I was like, I've never seen him. I don't know if it was him or a she or what. It's just a computer. But we get so used, the mind loves what's familiar, you see. Because the mind says to you, keep doing what you've been doing, because guess what? So far, we're still alive. So let's keep doing that same shit, because then we'll still be alive. And that's when fear kicks in. That's why you can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't take the action, nothing will change. Raise your hand if this makes sense. So now, do you think it is possible that Michael, if Michael's giving you some money, you're giving him some money, that you could set up a contract, a written agreement, just like you would do with the banks, that would say, X, Y, Z, here's all the terms, here's all the conditions, this means that this is now an official agreement between the two of us. Yes or no? Yeah, cool. So I'm telling you now, there are people in this room who have money. And there are people in this room who are looking to find somebody who's got money because they've got time. Do you think that might be a nice connection? Because if you've got money, and let's say you've got time, that's great, you could do that on your own. You might need something else though, because there's something else that we